This summer, I worked as a riding guide in Iceland. I was there in July, and in the span of a few weeks, I experienced every kind of weather Iceland has to offer. Warm sun, cold, wind, rain, all of it, and usually all in one day. Before I went, I tried to research what to actually bring, but I didn't find much that really helped me. Most of what's out there is written for guests who are going on shorter tours, not for someone who's out working with horses all day. So I'm making this video to share what I took with me, what worked, and how I would do it again. I'm going to keep riding and I've got more trips planned, so I'd also love to hear how other people do it, if you do something differently. I would love to learn from you. Let's start with riding gear, with one important thing before anything else. You can't bring used riding gear into Iceland. Anything that's been in contact with horses abroad, that's clothing, boots, and especially leather, saddles, bridles, and gloves, is either not allowed at all, or has to be properly washed and disinfected first. The reason is that Icelandic horses have been isolated for hundreds of years, and they're not vaccinated against the diseases our horses are exposed to, so they're extremely vulnerable to anything we bring in. So everything I bought was new, though, like with any gear before an outdoor trip, I did not experiment with new gear right before or during the tour. I bought new versions of things I already knew worked for me. I rode in riding tights the whole time simply because I can walk around, sit down and work in tights all day, and they're usually more comfortable than stiff breeches. I'm careful about buying tights that have seams because I actually have scars on the insides of my legs from riding myself raw once. But I do still have a few pairs of breeches and leggings that do have seams. The important thing to look out for here is that they are not exposed. I did also bring one leggings with seams with me on this trip, and they were actually my favorite. Meanwhile, this expensive black fleece lined pair, which seemed like the sensible cold weather choice, rubbed the insides of my legs completely raw within a day. You can already see the wear here after only a few days. We were riding 40 to 60 kilometers a day, and if I had stayed any longer, that would have become a serious problem. I switched to this green pair with a high waist and stayed in them. The high waist matters more than you'd think. It covers your lower back and kidneys, and on a cold windy day that makes a noticeable difference to me. The other thing I check for are pockets, at least one that fits your phone. Sometimes you can be riding several hundred meters or even a few kilometers apart from each other, and you have to be able to communicate, especially when accidents happen. I didn't bring any waterproof riding trousers. For rain, I just wore my rain trousers or my ski trousers on top. If you already have dedicated waterproof riding trousers and they work for you, then please keep doing that. But be aware of the trade-off. They're less flexible, heavier, and often less breathable. And if they're not genuinely waterproof, you end up sitting in a wet trouser that takes far longer to dry than a thin one. Wet is wet either way, so test it before you go or look at what people say about the specific trousers you intend to bring. One thing to check on any waterproof trouser is to make sure you can fasten it to your boot at the ankle. If it rides up while you're in the saddle, water goes straight into your boots and it's super annoying having to pull them down all the time. As for layers, my whole layering system besides the trousers was basically wool. For the base layers, I wore a merino shirt every single day, then a long-sleeved wool top, and then either fleece or straight into the rain jacket. I prefer wearing a hard shell rain jacket on top of a light down gilet that packs down to nothing and can easily be stored in a saddlebag. This green cardigan is kid mohair and wool. I bought it secondhand from Vinted for only €5. And it's one of my most favorite items. It weighs nothing and it's incredibly warm. I often wear it in the evening. Wool works because it keeps you warm when it's cold and it cools you when you're hot. It doesn't smell and it dries fast. If you're buying new, please look at where it comes from. It's worth paying more for wool that's produced responsibly, so the sheep are treated ethically. Or just buy secondhand, like I did with most of the items that I own. Protecting your head, neck and hands. These two Balaclavas were probably my most used item, and I didn't expect that. A thicker fleece one and a thin merino one, and depending on how cold it was, I wore both or one. Taking a helmet on and off all day without fighting a hat every time is so much easier, and unlike a scarf, it can't flap loose. And you can pull it over your mouth and nose, which was incredibly important because there's a lot of volcanic dust and you don't want it in your nose and throat constantly. This fleece neck tube I bought online for almost nothing genuinely saved me. It's very warm and lightweight, and this tiny thing I knitted myself in about an hour out of mohair, and admittedly it doesn't look like much, but because the yarn is so thin, it creates an open net-like structure that traps warmth incredibly well. It's absurdly small, but one of my favorite items. This thin triangular scarf is something I picked up from riding with a hunt in Germany. The neck cloths that people wear aren't just for decoration, they double as compression bandages in case of an emergency. It's the same in ultra running. People sometimes wrap a cloth around their wrist, not just for emergencies, but to wipe off sweat off their face or whatever else comes up. My favorite cashmere beanie, secondhand of course, very soft and warm in any weather conditions. Gloves will probably fill half of your luggage. I bought a lot of gloves because they get wet and filthy immediately after you put them on, so you will want spares. Waterproof leather ones, thinner ones, and very thin summer riding gloves. Which you prefer is really personal. And then these, cheap garden or builder's gloves for stable work. They were completely destroyed after 1 week, which is why I threw them out. So if you're going to be doing stable work, expect to burn through your work gloves and plan to bring a lot. Buying them in Iceland is much more expensive. As for mosquito, midges and fly protection, your tour will probably provide you with a mosquito net because without it we'd all have suffered horribly. The midges go into your eyes, your nose, your ears. It's generally miserable and by far the worst thing if you don't have a net. And going up into the mountains didn't help, even though it got colder and windier, there were exactly as many midges. So make sure you get one at the farm or bring your own. For the base, I brought 2 pairs of outside shoes, riding boots, fully waterproof of course with a solid sole, and then my favorite hiking boots, which I wore most of the time, just because I've always ridden in hiking boots and they're robust, my feet can breathe in them and they're very light, and I've never had a blister in them. And I was on my feet all day anyway, not just in the saddle, which made the hiking boots my preferred, more comfortable option. Both pairs are waterproofed and, as you can see, well used. Socks are signs of their own and my choice changes depending on which boots I am wearing and for how long. Unfortunately, you will have to test and iterate this on yourself. I brought many different pairs of socks, which I all know quite well. This pair is worn straight through. You can see how big the hole is. I'm going to try to darn it, of course. I brought long compression knee socks, which were wonderful for long riding days, and thinner and lighter or thicker and heavier wool socks, synthetic yarn socks, and so on. On some days I would layer them, depending on temperature, distance, and shoes, of course. Although socks can get quite expensive, they don't have to be. 1 pair was gifted from a friend, another I got for cheap online, on sale, or I bought them secondhand. I don't wear chaps, I've never needed them, but that's just personal preference. After a long day of riding in the highlands, you sleep in mountain huts, and usually everyone sleeps in one big room together because historically and nowadays practically, one shared room is much easier to keep warm, which is lovely and also means you'll be sleeping next to 15 to 30 other people. Hence, please remember to bring good earplugs and a proper sleeping mask. In July, the sun basically doesn't set. This is 11 at night and it looks like 11 in the morning. It's beautiful, but it will absolutely wreck your sleep if you let it. As for sleep clothes, normal t-shirt, a warm long sleeve and long jogging trousers. Mine, of course, always have a side pocket. Slippers, a microfiber towel and a flannel. Sometimes there's no hot water and a quick wash with a flannel is much better than nothing. The towel should be lightweight for when you get the chance to jump into a hot spring during the day. Some laundry detergent if you're out for a longer tour, and clothes pegs. They're for hanging washing, of course, when there's lots of wind, but they have many other useful purposes as well. Sometimes a cabin sleeping bag liner might be necessary. I didn't need mine on this trip because I had my own sleeping bag, but if you don't know whose sleeping bag you will be handed, or you don't need a warm one, a liner is lightweight, easily washable, quick drying, and overall very practical. My helmet was unused because of the import rules, but not new to me. I had the exact same model at home. I looked for 2 things. The helmet should be lightweight and you should be able to recognize it in a pile of other people's helmets. With Casco you can customize the straps, which sounds trivial, but it is genuinely useful when there's 20 other similar helmets in one huge pile. This is my running belt and it turned out to be one of my most used items. It held my pocket knife, which I always carry because you never know when there's an accident or when you just need to cut the hay balls to feed the horses. Plus it held my spare gloves, keys and sometimes my phone, a small buff and snacks. The point is that it keeps all of that off your jacket. Loaded jacket pockets can flap around while you're riding and it's almost as annoying as the midges. Some huts have no electricity at all, and your phone battery drains much faster in the cold, so if you're out for more days, you should definitely bring a power bank. I recommend to bring your own first aid kit, disinfectant and plasters that soothe the injuries you actually get while riding, blisters and rubbed raw skin. There are non-adherent dressings that don't stick to the wound, which make a huge difference. As you can see in some of my riding videos, sunglasses are not just for the sun, but primarily help me riding in the volcano dust. And although the UV isn't extreme, you'll be outside all day, every day, which is why I recommend bringing some good sun protection. I always brought my wallet with the most important cards and some cash in the local currency, just in case. As you probably noticed, a lot of the items came from other sports that I do. I'm outdoors a lot, so some of it was second nature, which also means I'm sure other people do things differently than me. If you want me to break down the actual costs or items like the first aid kit in more detail, I'm super happy to do that. I just didn't want to make this video twice as long as it already is, and I did enough talking for today. Otherwise, just ask me anything in the comments and I'll answer. Thank you for watching.